So here's my question. Did Hasbro and Avalon Hill botch the re-release of HeroQuest? And I know that in a certain sense, that certainly seems like a very strange question to ask, because when they re-released HeroQuest through Hasbro Pulse, that's their own crowdfunding system, they did raise, it says, $3,721,699, and that was a target of $1 million. So of course, as far as crowdfunding campaigns go, it's kind of hard to argue with $3.7 million. And so, of course, from that perspective, I suppose they're very happy with it. I would guess. But I do kind of wonder because, as you know, if you've been watching other videos on this channel, I'm a big fan of HeroQuest and have been a big fan of HeroQuest ever since it was first released. And so I figured that eventually HeroQuest would get a re-release or someone would return to it. And I know that some people have tried over the years. They tried because they thought they had the license for it in a certain area and would be able to re-release it here or there, but apparently that was all too complicated and I don't even know all the history of it, but I know people tried and were unsuccessful to do that. But I still felt that someone would successfully be able to return to HeroQuest because there was just too much money in it. I tend to follow the money with things like this, so if there was some kind of conflict between Hasbro and then Games Workshop and whatever, I mean, I figured that eventually they would work something out because if they don't, then nobody makes any money. So that's kind of how I look at these things. That was the way I looked at it when, like, the Hobbit films were being made or not being made, and there was some kind of argument over who actually had the rights. But I said that The Hobbit would eventually be made into a movie because if they don't actually figure it out, then nobody makes any money. And so, of course, they actually did, and the movies were released. Weren't so good, but that's another story. But same principle applied here. So it looks like they did figure out whatever the problem was, and Hasbro was able to re-release HeroQuest through Hasbro Pulse. And so initially when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, check this out. I mean, I think I sent the link to a few people directly, who are part of my friends and family group and said, look, HeroQuest is coming back. But then I wasn't very impressed with it. And so that's what makes me think, is it kind of a botch? So you would think, as huge a HeroQuest fan as I am, that as soon as this goes live, I am exactly the kind of person who would back the campaign, and yet I didn't. And why was that? Well, because I've been such a big fan of HeroQuest, I mean, I still have my original box of HeroQuest that was opened the year it came out, kept in great condition and still usable and still playable today. I even had another copy that I found on eBay that was incomplete, but just barely incomplete, and so I was able to pick it up very inexpensively. And then, of course, as you've probably seen on my channel as well, we built out this whole 3D HeroQuest board out of foam, and so we have the jumbo size 3D board to play with as well. And so when I said, okay, HeroQuest is coming back, when I looked at this, my initial response to it was of disappointment, and that's because it was just, of course the art's different, but it was a re-release of the existing game. And so I thought, well, that's kind of a mistake, isn't it? Because so many people like me already have this game, have loved it, and I wanted a kind of advanced HeroQuest or an expanded HeroQuest, because there are elements of this game that aren't, modern gaming elements. We can critique it on that ground. Obviously, it was groundbreaking when it came out, and it was very popular and all of that, and it's certainly been influential on me, but if you were designing an adventure game as other people have today, you probably would do a few things differently than HeroQuest did them back when it was originally released. Now, it is interesting to note that a lot of people tried to copy HeroQuest after it came out, and they weren't as successful. I can think of a number of games that I even had that were kind of copies of HeroQuest that came out in the years following with slightly different themes and things like that, but they weren't as good. So that actually tells you a lot about the game system and its mechanics that's very solid, but it's not modern. So I was thinking, well, if you're going to do a re-release, you're going to update it in some way, but they didn't. And so I was looking at this, and now personally, I prefer the original art. Of course, there's an argument that you're like, well, if it's the same game, but hey, it's got new miniatures, it's got new art. Of course, miniatures are always a big draw in something like this. That if you like the new miniatures, well, you might just go in for the game. And I know how that goes. But personally, this is just a personal taste thing, I wasn't as big a fan of the new style of art and the new figures. And so if it's the exact same game that I've got, and I'm not all that big a fan of the art and the miniatures, I don't really see a reason to go in for it. And so, of course, they do have this, like, Sir Ragnar figure here, but, I mean, there's a lot of miniatures that you can use for something like Sir Ragnar. And then I was hoping, actually, as well, I was like, okay, if they re-release the core game, there's at least going to be some new expansions that we've never played before, and to get some new quests. And now, some people have sent me links online where they have put out some new quests online and things like that, but I was a bit disappointed to find not only was it the core game, but then Return of the Witchlord and Kellar's Keep were also being re-released just as they were. And of course, I've got Return of the Witchlord and I've got Kellar's Keep as well. Those are still sitting on my gaming shelf. They're actually in the gaming room. But, I've got those as well, and they're just being re-released. So it was a little bit of disappointment for me when I saw this. And so that's what made me think that they had botched it, because I was like, well, if they have this fantastic game, they've got this fantastic property, and they put it out, and they can't get me, like the super fan of the game, to come and buy whatever it is that they're offering, it must be a mistake. And so, how could you botch your marketing like that? But I've come to rethink that over the past couple of months, 3 months. The game has started to get to people, or has gotten to people, from the crowdfunding campaign, and I'm part of the different Facebook groups, and I see different posts online, people talking about how much they have enjoyed being able to get this game, either because they had heard about the game and never got it years ago, or because they did have it years ago and they enjoyed it, but now, they've lost the game for different reasons. And I have heard some absolute horror stories online about what happened to people's original HeroQuest game, like, mom getting rid of it, or, it being in a car accident, or, being lost in a fire or something like that. So that changed my mind about that, because I was like, well, you know what? HeroQuest itself, without modification, other than art and miniatures, but the game system itself is such a classic game that now, of course, and I'm sure this was a factor in re-releasing it now, there are a lot of people who had that game when they were kids. Now they've got kids of their own, which are the same age as they were when the game was released, and now they want to share it with them, but they may not have their copy anymore. And so this was a great opportunity to be able to get people the core classic game and let people play it. And I've seen so many people really enjoying it, painting up the miniatures, doing 3D boards, all of that. That's really been enjoyable to see. And so I've been very glad that people have been able to experience that if they didn't experience it, or be able to experience it again with their own kids by having this classic release. And so now I think that that's probably a good thing. In the grand scheme of things, I mean, of course, like you said, $3.7 million is nothing to sneeze at. So that's a fantastically successful campaign. Of course, it's not like the largest Kickstarter board game campaign that we've seen. There are others that have gone bigger. So it does make me wonder, to like a Hasbro executive, I wonder if they know what they had. I mean, somebody did, certainly. But they were like, okay, we're going to re-release this classic game. We want to bring in new people, but we also want the fans of the game that had been pre-existing to come back for this campaign. I do wonder if it went as large as they were hoping. I don't know. But I do think the strategy of re-releasing the game as it was is probably the right one, because it has brought a lot of fun and a lot of joy to people's tables, and I'm certainly glad that people have been able to get it who didn't want to have to go to eBay and pay exorbitant prices and things like that. It was good that that was able to get back on people's shelves. Now, if they were happy with this crowdfunding campaign, and the game has continued to sell well in retail, and does continue to sell well in retail over however long it's going to be in print for them, I'm hoping then that they do go on and said, you know what, now let's push it a bit further, now let's do a revision of the rules, let's do HeroQuest Revised or HeroQuest Advanced, not Advanced HeroQuest like was already released, I did a video on that one, but a new type of, Advanced HeroQuest to go forward with that does start to update it and revise it. And that probably does work from a business strategy, because then people get the core game again, and then you're like, all right, if now that you've played through the core game, now let's give you the upgrade and the revision. And so I hope that happens. So after everybody's played through the game system and the expansions as they are, after a little bit of time, then they can come back in and say, now here's your expanded, revised game. And really, I even hope they do put out some additional expansions that are not Kellar's Keep and Return of the Witchlord. If they came up with a couple of new expansions, I would definitely buy those. And then definitely if they did some kind of advanced or expanded edition. So that's what I think, but what do you think? Do you think Hasbro was happy with this release, and do you think they're going to be able to release more for it? If you've enjoyed this video, please check out my channel. I've got a lot more HeroQuest videos, including building my 3D Jumbo board, and also gameplay on Dinner and a Board Game. Season 2, Episode 1, we play HeroQuest. You can watch the game being played. I've also got strategy and commentary videos as well. So I look forward to seeing you in many more videos, and until then, happy gaming.